Professor Jiang posts academic lectures to his channel Predictive History that are generally met with universal praise by both the algorithm and his legions of adoring fans. Embarrassingly, I spent several hours taking him seriously, and now I'm pissed and ready to show why this credible-looking professor is a fraud. Let me show you what I mean.
Okay? So we don't actually have any concrete evidence for the Holocaust. Okay?
This was the moment that I knew I had to make this. Once you say it, it's one of the few bells you can't unring. Keep this in mind because it keeps getting worse.
Okay?
Let's look at his credentials. By his own account, Professor Jiang holds a BA in English Lit from Yale. He has classroom experience at the middle school and high school level, but there's no graduate degree, no university faculty position, no peer-reviewed research, and no institutional affiliation. He's just not a professor. And look at the set that he operates in. The lectern, the classroom setting, the questions from students, the chalkboard, it's all designed to evoke the legitimacy of academia without adhering to the standards that it requires. But not only does he position himself as an academic authority, other people just do it for him.
Okay? It's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is run by these individuals who have a lot of power. We don't know who they are, but they control the military. They control the national security apparatus. There are different names for these people. You can call them the Illuminati. And the Illuminati are composed of three major groups. Okay, you have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Sephardim Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today. And you have the Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus.
This is where Jiang's pattern becomes more obvious. Signal authority and lead with narratives over evidence. This is a somewhat legitimate news operation / podcast outfit, and they couldn't be more reverent or deferential in their response to this genius theory he presents. But Jiang's underlying argument is that because the groups are secret, the evidence is inaccessible, and since the evidence is inaccessible, we should all just take his word for it. So far, I haven't really gone into much detail about why the lectures themselves are so misleading, so I want to break down this especially unhinged rant shitting on one of the most widely accepted scientific theories there is.
Okay? The idea of evolution is gradual progress. But we don't know how we went from the ape, okay, to the human. We share with the ape, other monkeys, 99.9% of DNA. But we don't know why we're so different from the ape.
His assumption here is that evolution is linear, going from ape to human as opposed to branching. We know that humans didn't evolve from modern apes. We share a common ancestor 6 to 7 million years ago. In anthropology, we have a sequence of hominin species that show gradual changes in cranial capacity and tool use spanning millions of years, which is really some of the most well-documented terrain in all of biology. He continues.
Second problem is humans have been around for about 200,000 years. We only have maybe 50,000 years of history. So where did the other 100,000, 150,000 years go? We don't know.
The claim here equates history with written records, which is not how science reconstructs the past. While written language only goes back a few thousand years, our understanding of human existence goes back hundreds of thousands of years through archaeology, genetics, and the fossil record. Beyond ancient fossil sites, we also have continuous records of genetic evidence and migration patterns from studies of what we call the mitochondrial Eve. A 23andMe genetic test actually traced my specific maternal haplogroup back to one woman who lived about 180,000 years ago. The first quarter millennia isn't a mystery. It's just studied using different kinds of evidence that look different than traditional history. Jiang's final issue with evolution is this.
The third problem is, according to evolution, there should be many different types of human beings. But in fact, there's only one, Homo sapiens. But it's problematic because according to evolution, there should be many, many different types of humans, okay? Maybe some with 6 fingers, some with 3 eyes.
The idea that evolution should produce many different types of humans at the same time fundamentally misunderstands the mechanisms through which evolution works. Species don't just accumulate indefinitely. They branch, compete, and go extinct. Crucially, they also reproduce and interbreed. Modern humans have about 1 to 4% of Neanderthal DNA. I have about 2% Neanderthal DNA based on the same 23andMe report, which is more than 3/4 of their customers, which I'm not exactly thrilled about, but my point is that even just referencing consumer DNA reports introduces some falsifiable empirical data using established methods, compared to just raising doubts without engaging with the underlying science. You might argue that Jiang isn't a biologist, that his lane is history and game theory, but that defense really doesn't hold because game theory borrows heavily from evolutionary theory. Models like the hawk-dove game and the logic of mutually assured destruction, which he cites often in his lectures, both borrow its framework from the same science he dismisses. Selectively accepting the conclusions of one field while rejecting its foundations is just being inconsistent at best. My hope here is that you can see how the problem extends far beyond Professor Jiang himself and is really more about how the algorithm prioritizes engagement above all else. You have content that looks authentic, an enthusiastic audience that believes it to be authentic, and no real mechanism on YouTube for checking facts. So in the end, it's worth paying closer attention to why something feels credible online. And if you take a closer look, you might be surprised at what you find.